My name is Anna. I have decided to quit the company I have worked for many years. Now I am 34 years old and my husband Paul is 36 years old, 2 years older than me. Paul and I started dating when he was a senior in university. Since he was already a senior in university, I thought he is an amazing person who is learning things that I had not learned yet. At that time I thought Paul was a great person. That's why I respected Paul so much. And he graduated from the university and started working, and when he would talk about episodes at his workplace and so on, I had looked at him with respect. When he said,
I had an urgent call at work.
I didn't mind too much that he would cancel our date because he was working hard. And I thought he was needed by his company. Every time I thought my boyfriend was such a great guy, I didn't care that he canceled our date. However, once I graduated from university and started working just like him, the respect I used to have for him slowly began to fade away. In the first few months of my working life, when I was also busy with a new workplace, a new job, and the change of environment, Paul told me,
It's only business. If you can get through this time, you'll be able to handle it gradually.
With that, I thought that Paul was amazing. However, after several years, I got not to have much respect for him. I used to respect Paul because he was my senior. And he already had a job, so it was a different matter whether I could respect him or not. He was more of a guy that I would worry about if I left him alone, rather than someone I could respect. Guy was catastrophically incapable of doing housework. His mother once taught him housework because she thought it would help him when he lived on his own. But she gave up. And she said to him,
I don't want you in the kitchen again.
He can't do anything by himself. When he stands in the kitchen, he scorches a frying pan that says it won't burn. If he looks into it, he will find out easily that it is not supposed to be heated in the microwave. But he doesn't even look into it, so it exploded or rendered the microwave unusable. This is just the beginning. When his mother was cooking, she said to him, Watch this for a second, please.
And then she moved away from the pan that was on fire.
Despite the obvious smell of burning food in the air, he was just looking at it with his phone in his hand. He didn't seem to turn off the heat or stir, and all that could be done was something charred black.
Why didn't you call me right away?
And he said, Because, Mom, you just told me to watch.
His mother was annoyed that even his father could cook simple meals.
After we moved in together, he told me, I don't cook. And he continued to say, Ask my mother for the details. I found out that after he gave me his mother's contact information, when his mother heard that he was going to live with me, she thought, Are you sure? Is it okay for her? She thought that, but she didn't say anything because he was so open about it. I was already worried about my life with Paul. His mother had told me, if I let him cook and do other household chores, you'll be in big trouble. I decided to take some home appliances for shortening the time so that I would have less of a burden on my own household chores. He was aware that I was doing all the housework because of him, so he bought me the appliances. Thanks to that, I did all the household chores, but it was not that difficult. He's not the kind of person who makes a mess in his room or takes off his clothes everywhere, so that helped me a lot. I think we did well like that until I found out I was pregnant. I had told Paul many times that I wanted a child. Paul didn't deny my words, so I naturally thought that he also wanted to have a child with me. That is why I told him first thing when I found out I was pregnant. I thought he would be happy about my pregnancy with me. But the words that came out of his mouth were,
What? Is it really my child?
This was the first thing to say to me. I was totally speechless. Then he said,
I don't trust you.
I was so shocked by his word. Why would he say such a thing to me after being with me for so many years? We had been together since we were in university, and then we had lived together. We have been married for almost 3 years now. I have slept with him only, then why? My baby in my belly. Why should he be suspicious of me? That day Paul said,
I'm going out for a drink.
And ran out of the house. My parents live far away from me, so I called my mother-in-law, who had often consulted with me. Fearfully, while trying to catch my breath so that my voice would not shake, I told her,
I have something to tell you. I'm pregnant.
If I had done something suspicious, and Paul had told both my mother-in-law and my father-in-law something. She might give up on me like Paul did. As I was thinking like that, she on the phone,
Oh my, I'll have a grandchild. I'm so happy.
she said happily. I was very relieved and decided to tell her about Paul's reaction.
But when I told him I was pregnant, Paul suddenly asked me if it was his child.
What? Paul said such a thing? To the pregnant Anna?
Yes, he said he couldn't trust me anymore. He left the house. Did I do something to make him suspect me? Have you heard anything from him?
To my question,
They.
she was troubled. I was further relieved that she did not immediately become my enemy in this situation. That her son suspected me of infidelity. I am so glad that my mother-in-law and I have had a good relationship so far.
I've no idea. I've never heard anything suspicious about you before. If he left home, I'm sure he'll come to my house. I'll ask him about it indirectly.
Yes, please.
That day, Paul did not come back home. Just as she had expected. Paul did not return to the house where I was waiting for him, but went back to his parents' house. Since she said she would ask him why he had started to say such a thing, I did not tell Paul to come home or anything like that, but she patiently asked why he left me alone and ran away from home. But he seemed to be evasive. It seems that Paul has never brought up the topic of my pregnancy, and 3 days have passed since he started staying at his parents' house. I gradually became dismayed with my husband, and there's no way that the moment he hears that his wife is pregnant, he suddenly makes a statement that he doubts if it's his own child. Running away from home for about 3 days without telling me why, even his parents are taking care of him. The company he works for is closer to my house. Above all, he seems to have bought a new suit and change of clothes because he left them at our house. There is no way he can do housework, and I'm sure he leaves everything to his mother, even ironing clothes. He is causing trouble to me and my in-laws and won't tell me why. Is that what an adult would do? And for a 36-year-old man? Even if I said it was childish behavior, he would not be able to argue with me.
What the hell is he thinking? Even though I'm just about to quit my job.
The place I was working for had declared that the company was going out of business. I took this opportunity to resign and was looking for a new job. Even though the company was going out of business, it was not a sudden bankruptcy. Of course, I was paid severance pay. We are about to have a baby and we need to be ready for it. But what in the world is he doing? In the first place, a man who cannot do any housework at all will only cause trouble for those around him when he runs away from home alone. The respectable man I loved was gone without a trace before I knew it. If he continues to stay at his parents' house without telling me why, I should think about divorce. One day, when I began to consider divorce, I received a call from him, who had apparently blocked my WhatsApp account. But it wasn't an apology or a reason why he doubted me or an offer to come home and talk.
How much is your severance package all in all?
I was like, huh?
I shouted.
I wondered what the message was to my wife, who had left me alone for days.
Don't you have anything else to say?
I asked him, but
All I want to know is how much is your severance pay? I have nothing else to say to you.
after that, when I asked him any other questions, he just kept going back to the subject of severance pay. He seems to be so concerned about my severance pay. I was dumbfounded and decided to tell him about the severance I received.
I think it's about $200,000.
When will the money be transferred?
It's transferred to my account already.
After that, no matter what I said, Paul did not reply. I sighed like, what the hell is that? And decided to go to bed that day. When I woke up in the morning and went to the living room, there was a green piece of paper on the desk. It was a divorce paper, and Paul's name was already written on it. He had come into the house while I was sleeping and left the divorce papers. He didn't even have the courage to talk to me in person. Seems like he totally gets cocky with me. I felt ridiculous that I had ever married and lived with such a man. I decided to write my name on the divorce papers immediately, and I checked the shelf where I always kept my bank book and the cash card, but found nothing there. The bank book I had placed at the top of the shelf is also gone. The cash card that was placed on top of it has also disappeared from its place. Yesterday, I had checked the bank book and the cash card, and they were there, Then there's only one who stole the bank book and the cash card. I am sure that Paul must have heard from me the amount of my severance pay and decided to take it all, since he thinks that the child in my belly is not his own. He probably thinks that I have been cheating on him. So maybe he thought he could take the money away from me? I sighed in disgust. I was the one who remained calm when I realized that he had stolen my bank book and the cash card. I knew the situation better than Paul did. Paul, you took my cash card, but what will he use it for, even it's zero in my bank account? I thought to myself, and then I remembered that the divorce papers did not need to be signed. I quickly submitted the divorce papers to the city office. The divorce papers were accepted without any problems. He doesn't seem to think the child in my belly is his. He will never claim custody of this child. I went home and quickly started packing my things. Then my in-laws came dragging Paul to me.
I'm sorry, Anna.
They suddenly came to me and my in-laws made Paul get on his knees. I wondered what on earth had happened. I was more upset than when my bank book was stolen. Then my mother-in-law said, looking like she was about to cry. Finally, Paul began to talk.
Actually, my husband is infertile.
What?
I can't understand what she meant. Why was Paul's father's infertility involved in all his foolish behavior up to this point?
We had told him many times that even if he or his wife is infertile, listen to what the doctors say carefully. Then you both talked well about what to do.
I think it's a good idea, though.
I just nodded my head, unable to grasp the intent of what she was saying. While I was thinking why she started talking about it, she glared at Paul.
How did this boy understand what we were talking about? He assumed that because his father was infertile, he was also infertile.
What? He assumed that Paul was infertile? To my recollection, Paul had never taken a fertility test. Even when I asked him to go, he didn't want to go, so I thought he must have hated the test. I had no idea that he thought he was infertile. Could it be that he didn't want to get tested? Because he didn't want me to know that he was infertile? No, I am pregnant. And even if I had been tested, it would not have shown that I was infertile. But he was convinced that he was infertile. And the moment he heard that I was pregnant, he told me that I had betrayed him. It is nothing short of foolish to say that. His parents had been lectured to him that he was mistaken.
I'm sorry, Anna. I couldn't trust you. That's my child in your belly, right? Then let's raise it together. Since it's you haven't filed for divorce yet, have you?
I slumped my shoulders. After all that, what makes you think I haven't submitted the divorce papers, etc.? His love for me has cooled off too. Then my father-in-law slapped him, who was smiling, on his head.
You idiot! What are you talking about? You said that you were having an affair behind Anna's back, and you believed that you were infertile. Because you couldn't get her pregnant, even though you had slept with her many times.
My eyes widened. Apparently just because his father was infertile, he didn't think he was infertile. It seems he had a cheating partner. And because he had never had a child with either of us, he assumed he was infertile. He and I just haven't been able to have good timing, well, because of our busy work schedules. And I just started thinking about a baby this year. I was stunned at what in the world he misunderstood. Why would he even want to come back to me after cheating on me in the first place? I couldn't understand what he was thinking.
Bring your cheating partner here, right now.
When I said this, Paul was reluctant to refuse my order, because he knows he was the one doing the wrong thing. She is a woman in her early 20s. When she saw me, she bows her head and says, "I'm pregnant. Please divorce, Paul."
You're infertile, aren't you? I feel sorry for him that his wife is infertile. I will give birth to his child on behalf of you, so please give it up.
Apparently, this time she heard Paul's misunderstanding. It seems that she's making a mistake, that it is me who is infertile, etc. Paul panicked and said, "Oh no, it's only my father who is infertile."
Huh? You said you couldn't have children because of infertility. But I got pregnant, so which means it's your wife who is infertile, right?
A very amusing, no. My in-laws were also losing their minds, seeing the two of them having a very silly argument in front of me.
Enough. If each of you pay me $30,000 in alimony, I will divorce you without a word.
Both Paul and his cheating partner's eyes lit up at my words. He apparently had not checked the contents of the bank book he had stolen from me. He believes my story and he thinks $200,000 is in that bank book. I guess he thought $30,000 per person was a piece of cake. My in-laws nodded and said if that was what I wanted to do, it would be okay. From then on, they were to stay out of my life. If they get involved, I will charge them $500 each time. I put him in writing, but they were happy to agree. They signed it, saying they would never do such a thing. I was not long after I moved out that they broke it.
See, your bank book has a zero balance. What the hell is going on? You said there's $200,000 of your retirement money in your account.
I said in a cold whisper to him as he contacted me.
Yes, sir? $500 for contacting me.
I said that and hung up the phone. He didn't learn his lesson and contacted me within a few minutes.
Hey, don't be silly. I'm serious. Where is your severance package?
Yes, for the second time, $1,000.
Answer me properly.
I thought I might be able to keep on raising the amount, but I thought it would be a hassle to deal with this guy over and over again, so I decided to answer.
That bank book you stole, I was already planning to throw it away. So the money in the account has already been transferred to another account. Oh, I had your parents already take away my cash card and they will return it to me. You can give me the $1,000 then too.
Wait a minute. We have to pay you $60,000.
Why are you asking me about money to pay me? It's impossible. Well then if you call me again, you'll only pay more.
With that, I hung up the phone. It seems he tried to call me again, but the cheating partner found out and stopped him. After that, they asked people they knew to lend them money. They were disowned and so on, but collected $60,000 with the money they borrowed in their savings, and they both paid me alimony. They also paid me $1,000. They have had enough and no longer contact me. As for the child support, I am supposed to receive $600 per month. I am sure that their life will be a living wreck. Now I am back to my hometown with my newborn son. I am back to my hometown with my newborn son and living him with my mother and father. I am back to my hometown with my newborn son and raising him with my mother and father. I don't want a mom like that even as a father.